Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's football show here on STV. The main talking points on tonight's programme: Celtic will be seeded for Friday's Champions League playoff draw after a narrow win over Astana of Kazakhstan last night at Celtic Park. Mark Warburton says Rangers are in good shape for their return to the Premiership against Hamilton on Saturday. And Mark McGee is keen to hold on to Marvin Johnson despite interest from Oxford United. That's just a few of the topics we'll be discussing on tonight's programme. Alan Rupp is here with me. Ruffy, in the end, 2 penalties, 2 red cards was the story of the 90 minutes, but Celtic with the edge of the 3 goals scored.
Yeah, I touched on it briefly yesterday. I didn't think it would be an easy game. I don't think Celtic are a finished article yet. But the be-all and end-all was winning the tie and getting to the playoff. They did that, as you've just said there, albeit it was 2 penalty kicks. Again, it wasn't the greatest performance in the world, but the Celtic supporters, as you could see at the end of the game, were more than happy with that. I think obviously there are teams in the next the playoff, but there are easier teams than others. But I would like to think that the board themselves know they have to bring in a couple of players. I don't think they can go into the next playoff and hope with the squad that was on show last night are good enough to really confidently take them through into the big game. So I'm sure the Celtic supporters will be hoping that the board can see that as well. I know they're trying to get Sinclair in. The centre-half played, which would be a bonus. But I think just one more quality player coming in for that game would make the supporters a wee bit more confident.
1
or 2.
Yeah, I think 2. If they follow type, 2 by Monday, maybe 1. Yeah. Definitely, I think need 4 before the end of August.
Yeah, well, I think obviously if you listened to the manager last night after the game, he was quick to praise the supporters, and quite rightly so. It looked a tremendous atmosphere at the ground, and I always feel when a manager's praising the fans and not praising the players, he knows exactly what he needs, to take Celtic forward.
Yeah, this is exactly what Brendan Rodgers, the Celtic manager, had to say about the performance.
There's always going to be 3 tough rounds. The guys that have had the experience in it up here, they're telling me that sometimes the first 2 rounds are the most difficult, But that was a difficult test for us. I think everyone, when the tie was made, felt that we'd do well to come through here. But I thought over the 2 games, we showed different elements of our game, and I thought we deserved to go through. So now we've got one final step to go. We'll see what Friday brings us. But certainly it gives the players great belief, and hopefully gives the supporters belief. Hopefully they see from the game today that the players are giving absolutely everything.
I'll tell you, it was a nervy 90 minutes, Ruffy. Celtic had a lot of the possession. The reason why I mentioned 4 players is because I feel as if the football that he wants this side to play relies very heavily on, players with a good touch, somebody who's got a trick. And a real threat in that final third. And of course, if he has Simonovic, Kolo Toure in there, Owen O'Connell played well, but I think his appearances will be few and far between over the course of the season. So there are others in there that can come in, but it's getting the other players out. But last night, the longer it went on in the first half, you could sense the tension inside the ground. And at the end, the referee was well placed to award them the first penalty.
Yeah, I think he was correct in both penalties, but I mean, to get it so late on, you're right, it makes it a very nervy night, not just for the supporters, but for the manager and the players, But these are nearly the same players who failed at this stage last year, so there's something happening. I put that down to the manager. I think the manager has not only got a plan A, but he's got a plan B, and he's not frightened to change it, as you saw the other night there. But you're right, when the boy Roberts went off, a bit of an imagination went out the game, and I think if he could really get, we said about this last year, a playmaker, a quality playmaker who can sit in the middle, pull the strings, with a lot of experience, I think the Celtic supporters would be happy with that.
Well, it's funny you say that because, I watched Stuart Armstrong last night, and I felt sorry for him because I liked him as a player at Dundee United, but I am almost certain he is in that rabbit in the headlights mode that Gary Mackay-Steven found himself in. I think the club, I don't know if he's actually fully believing that he's deserving of wearing that jersey, because there were times last night when the Celtic fans lost patience with him in that game.
Yeah, I've said it on numerous occasions. You know, that there are players who come from other clubs and they're the star men, and they come to the likes of Rangers and Celtic, and they then realise that it's not 4,000 and 5,000 they're playing in front of, it's 50,000 and 60,000. And when you play in front of crowds like that, your performance has to be spot on, not 2 out of 4, but every game. And he's just finding it difficult to slot in there. I think if he was to get more confidence under his belt, I still think he's a quality player. He might not be the player at this precise moment, because I think they should go with somebody with a wee bit more experience.
Yeah, and Brendan Rodgers did mention last night something I thought was quite pertinent. He said that he felt as if the fans needed to show a bit of patience. They needed to actually just, when the ball goes back and it can't go forward as quickly as they would like, the last thing they can do is start to really get on the players' backs. And I can understand where he's coming from. That's all right if you've got Liverpool players of class who can ping it about at pace and keep possession as well. I think the fans do, and it was a good point he made, do need to actually just take a little step back, you know, when things are not going the way they want.
Yeah, but I think that's all about confidence. That's all about winning games. If you're winning games, you know, you get the supporters right behind you. Let's not forget, this was Celtic supporters that were disappointed in Europe last year, so they need to be bought over as well. But I think what they're seeing is, you know, that he's trying to play attractive football. So the more games they win, I think the more the supporters will relax as every game goes by.
OK, that's Celtic. They'll be seeded in Friday's draw. Now, here's the potential that the teams that they could meet: Dundalk, Ludogorets, Dinamo Zagreb, FC Copenhagen and Hapoel Beersheva. Who do you not want out of that lot?
Well, probably Copenhagen, because they've got a bit of experience in Champions League football. They're a sort of a Rosenborg as well. They always seem to be there. Sometimes they get in the top flight, sometimes they don't. But again, you know, there will be the harder opposition. I know everybody's looking at Dundalk. Obviously, the travelling will be a lot easier for the supporters. And without knowing a lot about them, I would think Celtic, if they were drawn against them, they would fancy themselves to go through.
Yeah. Do you think one player's going to be enough? I mean, I look at Maribor, I look at Malmo, and what happened over the last 2 off places that they fell. I mean, they would automatically go into the group stage, Ruffy, of the Europa League, but I think that would be a hard one to stomach for Celtic fans if they were to drop out at this stage once again.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you look at the teams that you've just read out there, I'm sure the Celtic supporters will be saying to themselves, if we had another couple of players in there, we should be able to see off any of these teams at any time. You know, they're not any of the big names. I think if we remember back 4 and 5 years ago, the teams that were waiting were the Arsenals, who they had to play.
Yeah.
They're not anywhere near the teams that were in this third stage. So I would think that Celtic would think that they could beat these.
Yeah, and as we head towards the break, Ruffy, I know we're only moments away from Aberdeen kicking off against Maribor. Even without Johnny Hayes, we've got to keep our fingers crossed that somehow we've got 2 clubs that will be involved in Friday's draw.
Yeah, I still got a bit of hope. I said that their game would be sort of mirrored by the Celtic game from last night. You know, when they scored last night, that's what Aberdeen need. They need a wee rub of the green. They need to put a bit of pressure on them, get a goal maybe earlier on, or maybe just get a goal at 1 each, you know, and then see what happens.
Yeah, you still confident they can do it?
I'm not overconfident. I think confident is enough.
Yeah, are you confident that Celtic can get past this stage?
Yes, I am, but I would be more encouraged if there was another couple of players coming in.
Yep, OK. We are going to talk Rangers in the next part of this programme, and Motherwell as well. Just before we head to the break, Ruffy, I noticed a story that caught my eye over the course of today. Dundee, Dens Park, 117 years, possibly could be moving to a new stadium on the outskirts of the city. Now, this may be the fact that the Dundee board have bought some ground out on the outskirts of the city, and this could be finally the move that takes them away from their near neighbours. Good thing?
A good thing for me. From the playing side, I always thought it was a great place to play, but I think they've did their best with the new stand there, but I still think the main stand looks a bit tarnished. I don't know why they don't get together and have a massive stadium. I really, for the both sides, you know, we see other teams doing it. It would seem the sensible thing to do, just to move in the outskirts and share a stadium.
Yeah, I mean, we've been on this programme, Ruffy, for about 3 years now, and I must admit that's possibly the most sensible thing that you've said, but unfortunately we live in a country full of tribes. It's highly unlikely.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you would think it would be the sensible thing. You would think if Milan are quite happy to do it, you would think that 2 teams from Scotland would give it a bash.
You would think,
Yes.
wouldn't you? That's not going to happen. Listen, the great thing about Scotland, when you get ready for the big kick-off, there's always a noise up, and Kenny Miller's got a good one next. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's football show here on STV. Delighted to have your company. Hopefully you will join us for the new season here on STV Glasgow, STV Edinburgh. Big plans. The programme on a Saturday at 2 o'clock. We'll be back over 4 hours giving you interviews, opinion, of course the goals as they hit the back of the net, and we'll also give you more than a few bits of banter with our pundits here in the studio covering Scottish football. We'll keep an eye on the Barclays Premier League when it starts in England, but across all 4 divisions in Scotland. Ruffy will be here in the chair. Frank McAvenny, Murdo MacLeod will all be offering their opinion on Scottish football as well. So join us if you can, Saturdays at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on STV Edinburgh, STV Glasgow. Really looking forward to the season, loving the fact that we do have what many people in Scotland will be aware of as a right good noise up ahead of it, because already there's a wee bit of banter going on. Scott Brown says Aberdeen will be their main challengers. Kenny Miller just said that's Scott Brown just looking to noise everyone up.
He probably is. I mean, let's be serious.
Let's be serious.
Let's be serious when Rangers and Celtic are back on board. That's what we love. We just love it. You know, the supporters love it. The supporters love picking up something for the weekend, getting into their work in the morning, Monday morning, meeting their mates who obviously support one or the other, and having a right good banter and things like that. You know, just keep it going.
Yeah, it is a classic noise up. The proof is in the pudding, quite simply, when teams go on the park. Mark Warburton reckons Rangers are in good shape. He's quite happy with the way they're playing. Obviously, he mentioned only in the last 24 hours, Ruffy, that they would have liked probably a better test with some of the teams in their pre-season challenges. But over and above that, I think, you know, he still needs 2 players.
I think he knows defensively he would like a big centre half. You know, I think somebody who would obviously operate and control things at the back, somebody with a bit of experience. If that's a weakness, it seems to be there. Certainly midfield looks solid. They've got plenty of strikers up front. But again, it's a test for him. He's only had one really hard game. So I think once he gets the Hamilton game out of the road, I think he'll know what he really needs.
Yeah, I mean, over and above that, Ruffy, I don't think there's any doubt about it, that the team has changed. There was 10 players in that championship side of last season have now departed. So Mark Warburton knew there was a team that could get him out of the championship, but with the expectations of the Rangers fans, he had to try and bring in a better calibre of player.
And he has brought in it. There's no doubt that this Rangers team are far better than last year. I mean, at the end of last year, we were talking up the signing of a Halloran. You know, thinking what a difference he's going to make. And I think every player that he's bought in since then, nobody's mentioned the Halloran at all. You know, it just shows you the quality that he's went looking about, trying to get experience, trying to get youth. But again, the proof will be in the pudding when they start doing the serious games.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, Hamilton.
Yeah, again, you know, I think they're actually working on people like me saying that they could be relegation, and working on the pundits and feeding that to the players. And when you see the players getting interviewed now, they're responding to that, you know, and I think that could be the thing to prove everybody wrong, as I've done year in, year out, and all compliment to them that they have the ability to do that. But sometimes it just becomes tiring all the time to drag yourself away. So they'll be hoping they have a good start to the season and staying away for that bottom 6.
Yep. Of the other teams that are getting ready for the big kick-off, of course, 2 of the games from the Premiership taking place on the Sunday, but on the Saturday, Kilmarnock against Motherwell. I think, I mean, I'm looking at so many pundits, journalists, the lot, all tipping Kilmarnock to go down, and they come up against a Motherwell side where Mark McGee was able to hold on to Scott McDonald. Oxford have made an approach for Marvin Johnson, but he wants to hold on to him. I like Johnson. I think he's got something to offer, certainly at this level in the Premier League.
Yeah, I don't think that Mark McGee would want Johnson to leave, not for a minute. I think he's one of their main players. But you're right, Kilmarnock can get into this game, and everybody says, oh, the pre-seasons for getting results, and it doesn't matter whether you win them or not. Unfortunately for Kilmarnock, it does matter, because these fans need to be won over, and if they were to start this season the way they started last year, I think they'd be under pressure for a long, long time, not only from obviously the management, from the supporters as well.
Yep, absolutely. I'll tell you one thing I'm really going to be keeping a close eye on, Ruffy, is the fact that out of all the teams that start in the Premier League, I wonder what the percentage will be of Scottish players that will be taking to the field in the starting 11, because obviously Hearts go into the game against Celtic on the Sunday. They brought in a number of foreign players, and Ross County are famed for it at the moment, bringing in foreign players, trying to attract people to the Highlands. You have Inverness, Cali Thistle, and of course Dundee have actually spent, on players, recruitment of players. But I wonder how many Scots will start. I think that's a key issue for us.
Yeah, I think it is, and it's a key issue for obviously the Scottish-based players that if you look about now, most of them are just getting one-year contracts. And that means that 1 year contract is putting you under pressure to perform to the manager to try and get another year. And obviously if there's foreign players coming in, you'd be hoping that there is quality. I don't think you mind watching quality coming in. It's just when it's bang average and you see the Scottish guys, even particularly young Scottish guys, not getting a game in any of the teams. I think that's a disappointing bit about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, we'll be keeping an eye on the Championship, League One and League Two as ever. Ruffy, sometimes you have to take a second look and see Dundee United in the Championship. I noticed that Ray McKinnon's looking at possibly Rory McAllister as a possible target for Dundee United. I listen, he'll do well to get him to the northeast, especially away from what I think is a real comfort zone for him, not only from his main job and his part-time job with Peterhead.
Yeah, it seems to be year on year on. We keep saying, why is he not playing with a Hibs or something like that? But he's obviously comfortable in his lifestyle that he's got. So I would think it would have to be something extremely tempting for him to maybe even take. I don't even know if he can take a year out of what he's doing, but I would like to think that he's professional enough to say, look, why don't I give it a bash for a year and maybe he still can get back to whatever he's doing.
Yeah, absolutely. After all, money talks, Ruffy, as you tell me, week in, week out on this programme.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if a Spanish club come in for him, whether he would sort of hang about up in Peterhead.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not quite sure that's on the cards for him. But interestingly enough, a lot of the managers, a lot of the captains have been out on show over the last couple of days, getting ready for the big kick-off. There is indeed a focus of attention on our game again, not only in the Premiership. I do hope that there's obviously, again, the same consideration to the lower leagues as well and what's happening there, because Rangers going up through the leagues over 4 years is fine. It's brought a bit of focus to it. I just hope the spotlight doesn't completely switch off from them. Certainly not in our programme. No,
it certainly won't. I think if you thought back to last year to our Saturday show, most of the conversation was around the lower leagues because they were so competitive, because there was no certain winner. One of the leagues, I think there was 5 points between the top 10 at any one stage in the year, and that makes the fans coming out, because there's no guarantee that your team's going to win, and if they're competitive and they're seeing good games as they did last year with good players some of them have stepped up to a higher league, so I'm sure there'll be people coming in. And I think they like to see the young players that have been at the academies, and a lot of them have got academies now, getting a wee chance.
Yep, okay. We talked about the Premiership, some of the really tasty games that I'm looking forward to tomorrow in the Championship, and highlighting the fact that I think that's well worthy of people continuing to throw the spotlight onto it. Falkirk against Hibs, just a great way to open the season.
Yeah, maybe not for Hibs. Hibs will want to hit the ground running. I'm sure Neil Lennon would want 3 points in the bag to get the supporters on board for the season, but he's going to have a difficult one there at Falkirk. I've sampled the fantastic season they had last year, fantastic record at home particularly, and I don't know if you're sticking with your wee man John Baird to score so many goals again before he's actually reached 15 before you take the bet on. But no, I think he'll be a main player, as all the Falkirk boys will be, and I think there'll be a big crowd. That's a good thing about it. I think you could have a healthy 6,000 or 7,000 people at that game, and at that Falkirk Stadium is the friendly stadium when it's full.
Yeah, well, you'll have Hearts Celtic. That'll be close to a sellout on the Sunday. Falkirk Hibs, as you mentioned. St Mirren Morton will be full to the gunnels as well. And Rangers, you can't get a ticket for love nor money for this one, such as the interest in the Ibrox club returning to the top flight. So certainly the interest is there in abundance. I wonder, Ruffy, are you going to maybe early on in the season go for Martin Wycorn to score 40 goals this season?
I don't think this season. I don't think this season. But if you let me come down to maybe 20,
yeah,
I think I'd be quite happy if he got 20 in this league.
Yeah, let me have a word with Martin Wycorn first to see how he's feeling in this one. Of course, I think we cancelled each other's bets out over the course of last season. But nevertheless, really looking forward to the new season. Join us tomorrow night for the big preview at 7 o'clock. And of course, on Saturday we're on at 2. But from Ruffy and myself, good night.